Hello, everyone, and welcome to the happiest hour on earth. We're so happy that you're here. We're so happy to be doing another episode. And this week we have a very special episode. We were going to be doing our series. We're going to start a series about just our favorite, rides and snacks and drinks and restaurants and everything at the Disney parks. But since Father's Day is coming up this Sunday, and we did a Mother's Day episode when that weekend was here, we were like, we just have to do a Father's Day episode.
Couldn't pass it up.
We could not pass it up. So we are doing a Father's Day episode here. We're going to be breaking down just the different types of Disney dads, discussing our favorite ones. We're not going to be touching on all of them because that is a lot of Disney dads. Oh yeah. So we cannot wait to talk about this. But real quick, before we even jump into this, the last couple of weeks we weren't planning to have so many people on our show, but we just want to give big shout outs to Riley on Main Street that we had, my friend David Ledbetter when we talked about all things Star Wars, and then last week we had Gabby from Park Up Tees on, and it was just so great to just chat with all these amazing people. And so if you have not listened to those episodes, definitely go back and check those out. We had such a fun time, and thank you for those who did listen. Thank you so much for listening. But with that, should we go ahead and jump into the show?
Let's jump in.
All right, let's go. So before we jump into the topic, real quick thing, you guys know us. We usually do a Disney snack and a Disney drink. This week we're going to make a reel about how easy it is to grab churros at the store, the actual churros that you could buy in the Disney parks, which is just amazing. They're at Smart and Final. And so I went over to Smart and Final, was trying to film all this stuff. And then when I got to the churro aisle, they only had packs of 100 for $50. And I was like,
I don't think we need that many churros. I mean,
that's
I love
lot
churros.
Of churros.
But that would last a really long time and we would gain some weight.
I don't even know if we would have room in the freezer for those. It was insane.
Yeah,
and
I think it usually is a pack of 50, which is half.
Actually, I think they do packs of 25, which I was like, packs of 25 for $12.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah, so it's like half. Yeah, and so I was like,
yeah.
Oh, that would have been perfect.
So
but I drove all the way
100.
there, and 100 churros.
Yeah, we just couldn't do that. Couldn't justify spending $50 on churros.
Yeah, and we were going to do a snack, and we weren't going to do a drink. We do have some cool tiki mugs from the actual Trader Sam's that we are going to be using for drinks soon. But tonight, since we were planning on a snack, we did get some beer because I think for the Mother's Day episode we had wine.
Yeah.
And so this week we're doing beer. This is at our favorite place to get beer at Disneyland and California Adventure at the Pacific Wharf Distribution Company. This is a Karl Strauss beer. It's called the Aurora Hopialis, which is just a really fun name. I've been getting their boat shoes hazy over there recently, but this is just a classic. So I bought this at the store, and yeah, it's just so good. So let's cheers. I know we know what this tastes like, but it's just so great to have a first sip.
That's a good one.
Oh yeah, you can't beat an IPA walking around the Disney
parks.
Nice
and crisp. Yeah,
I know, so good.
It's a good one.
Oh yeah.
On the topic of snacks, in case you don't follow us on Instagram or didn't see our post, check out this sweater I'm wearing right now. It's a jersey, but we have a friend, Shannon, who designed the most amazing artwork on this Spirit jersey. It's just your standard black Spirit jersey, but she is an artist, and you can't see the back right now. You can kind of see the front a little bit, but go look on our Instagram because it's our most recent post, and it's a picture of us as the first photo at the castle. But if you scroll over, you're gonna see what this looks like, and it is amazing. It is it's kind of themed around our podcast.
Yeah, the front is our logo.
Yes, it's our logo, and the back has just tons of the snacks and drinks that we've made on the show. So it is so special to have. Yeah. Just to have forever, long after, all this podcasting stuff when we're old. We're going to have this awesome jersey. I'm never going to get rid of it.
Good memory of what we're doing currently, which is so exciting.
I love it. So thank you, Shannon. We absolutely love it.
And you could find her at Just _Shano, if you wanna see. It is really hard to find Spirit jerseys right now online, so she's not like making them and selling them on her Etsy shop.
She
Just because it's so
technically
difficult. Yeah.
has made a lot of them. I don't know if I should be saying this because I don't think she's technically doing it right now, but I personally know some
amazing.
people who have gotten them from her, and she's done like tons of different themes on the writing of the Disneyland on
Yeah.
the back, and it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. It's so
Yeah.
perfectly detailed.
The way that the letters are so thin, yet she's able to fit so many different
Yes.
drinks and
And
snacks.
you know
in there. It's
exactly
crazy.
what each thing is, even though it's
Ah.
in such a small space. Like, it is perfect.
It's amazing.
She's
Definitely go
amazing.
check it out on
Yes.
Instagram. It's so awesome.
We're very impressed and we're very thankful.
Yeah, for sure. So we wanted to split these fathers up. We as we were looking at the different types of fathers, we realized in the earlier Disney movies, there were a lot of fathers that weren't around, just because they lived with a stepmother because the dad had died or something like that. And so there were a lot of fathers that weren't in the picture in earlier Disney movies. But as we were kind of looking at these Disney fathers, there wasn't really a progression. Like, I feel like last time with the mothers, we talked about like kind of like the evolution of Disney mothers, where they started and where they are kind of going now. This had a very mixed assortment of fathers. So we kind of broke it down to 3 different groups. But a lot of these groups were intermingled throughout the decade. So it wasn't this like through line of they started here and they ended up here. And so
Yeah,
the
it's-
different categories,
It's
that we
kind
had.
of a assortment in each grouping that we have. It's not
Yeah.
really like one time frame in Disney or in Pixar. It's kind of scattered. It's just different types of dads that are portrayed in those movies.
Yeah. And apologies if we do not mention one of your favorite fathers. I know there's so many,
There's
but these
so
were just
many.
ones that stuck out to us.
And
But
ones that we kind of wanted to focus on because the father is like kind of a focal point of
Yeah.
the movie, or like a father-child relationship is kind of really important to that movie.
yeah,
because there's
and he
fathers
fit within these categories. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, obviously there's tons and tons of dads in the Disney movies, but, we can't talk all night. So we
Yeah.
just picked some of the ones that are some favorites.
For sure.
Some standouts.
And if we miss your favorite father, or if we talk about your favorite father, if you're watching on YouTube right now, like, let us know in the comments below. If you're listening to this on a podcasting platform, hit us up on Instagram. We would love to hear about your favorite fathers of Disney. But with that, do you want to start off with the first one?
Sure, I'll start. So our first
category,
category,
yeah.
yes, our first category that we're talking about is the fathers who are kind of overly protective, a little bit fearful of, letting their kids grow up and explore and adventure and that kind of thing. So there's a heavy theme of that with a lot of the dads in Disney and Pixar. So that's where we thought we would start with this group. So the first one we're talking about is King Triton.
Yeah.
So King Triton, as we all know, he's a merman and he's very proud of his daughters. He's a single dad. I think we read up that his
Technically,
wife
his mer wife
got killed apparently by
by a pirate ship.
a pirate ship, which I don't know if they were really talk. I guess they said it's like in the
So it was in one of the movies that was like a prequel to the series.
okay, so it's from like
Yeah, and I've seen, we've seen Little Mermaid 1 and 2, but I actually haven't seen the prequel.
yeah, I didn't know that there was
Yeah.
until now,
You
but
gotta watch it.
yeah, now I have to watch it. So yeah, so his wife's gone. He's raising all these girls by himself, and he loves them. He's a great dad, but he is very, very protective and very scared of what Ariel is kind of trying to grasp onto and do, which is to get into the human world and fall in love with Prince Eric. So, there's that scene that we all know and remember where he comes in and destroys everything that she's collected from the human world. And it's very sad.
Yeah.
And you do see a moment afterwards when he sees how sad she is, when he kind of like sort of regrets what he did.
It's that 1 second of
Just a
him
split
feeling
second.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything. It's just kind of a look. But you can tell that he's like, I probably went a little too crazy on that. So, but in the end, Triton grows, which is kind of the other theme in this category, is like very protective in the beginning, but grows throughout the movie and, learns to let go a little bit,
Yeah.
So in the end, he sacrifices himself for Ariel. He becomes a little sea urchin.
A little, what do they got? Like a polyp.
Polyp. Yeah. Very sad
He still has
little
the
polyp.
mustache. He still has the mustache.
Yeah.
Which is great.
But he,
Harry Polyp.
he lets Ursula take over because the other option is for Ariel to be gone forever. And so he did a very loving father thing and took her place.
Mm-hmm.
But then he ends up coming back because Ursula gets killed. And
By the
by
humans
Eric.
that he hid. And the other cool theme about this movie is that not only was he protective of his daughters, he was very protective of his species of
Yeah.
the mermaids and mermen. And he always just talked about, okay, it's us down here and the human world out there, and we are not like there's
we're
this
not
big
supposed to
tension.
intermingle.
No one's good. No one's good in the human world. Yet he sees that Eric in the human world defeats Ursula, and that kind of opens his mind a little bit when he's seeing Ariel on the rock, and then that changes his mind. Like, you know what? She was really in love. I need to let go. I'm gonna miss her so much. And then he gave her, permanent legs, and then we see this kind of blend between, these other people are not all bad. Like, I need to open my mind up to see past this. And I think that's a great message in today's world. No matter now, 20 years from now, whatever, we have to be open-minded to those people who might not be like us, and really just break down those walls and get to know people.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for sure.
love it. King
I love
Triton's,
it. Yep,
I think a
he's
great
teaching
first
us.
one for the overly protective.
Yes, definitely. So next up.
Yeah, so next up we have the Sultan from Aladdin. I
Yep.
love the Sultan because he loves Jasmine so
He's
much.
so
He is-
lovable. Yeah, he's
a
got a
lovable
more
little guy.
lovable persona than Triton. Like
Triton's a little
they're both
scary.
protective in different ways, but the Sultan is just so like he's like a teddy bear,
He's like a teddy bear.
And he just wants what's best for Jasmine, and so did Triton, but they just had different ways of going about it. And Sultan's just like, I'm not going to be around forever. I want you to be taken care of. Like, that's his main thing. He just wants her to be cared for.
Exactly. And there's, the law of what was the law actually? It had to be appointed
She had
by
to marry.
and marry a
or
prince,
royalty,
yes.
yeah.
And then at the end he realizes that true love is better than tradition, and him being the Sultan, he could change the law. And allowed I'm trying to remember that quote. He has a really good quote.
He says
about
like
this.
Yeah, we read it. He says like, well, am I Sultan or am I Sultan? Like this law, from here on out, like this law is gone, and like she shall marry whoever she wants, basically. I'm not quoting it correctly, but did you just find it?
I'm just trying to find it. This is a
a
site with a lot of
lot.
Sultan quotes.
Oh
If you want 1,000 Sultan quotes, this is the site to be on. But yeah, pretty much that's what it is, and it's amazing.
So
that
he
does
changes the
change his
law
mind.
and he lets his daughter do what she needs to do. Mm-hmm. So he's a
which
great
is
dad.
which is really, scary for someone who's in power.
Yeah,
To let her
change
marry
a
a
big
street
law.
rat, but
You're right.
but he does
must
change
trust
around
them.
because they do love each other, and so
Yeah.
a great, lovable, different type of overly protective, almost overly protective because of the law, and then he grows,
Yeah, he
changes.
does.
Yeah, it's
He's
good.
a great dad. Great dad.
Oh yeah,
So next up we have Chief Powhatan from Pocahontas. He's like, okay, this is another one I haven't watched super recently, but we did rewatch kind of like towards the end when you see his change of heart. And it's such a beautiful scene
is, yeah.
because very protective in the beginning, like we were saying. He lost his wife, I think, again, and he's just kind of trying to take care of his tribe and his daughters.
That scene is just so powerful because he was about to do one of the most unimaginable things, which is killing another person. He was so caught up in this our tribe versus your tribe and protection and all this stuff that as he was swinging his staff, and Pocahontas steps in, and she says that she loves him, and there's this huge moment there, that beautiful scene where the wind and the leaves come in as she says that, and it's almost like him realize it, like, his tribe is so connected to nature, and nature's all about like growth and love and just being one and all this stuff. And that's almost like that reminder in that moment that he let hate get a hold of him. And that was almost like this amazing reminder, like, no, we should really all be one, connected to the universe and all this stuff. And then I love the quote that he says. He says something about like, if there's going to be fighting, it's not gonna start with me, because of that simple act. And throughout the movie, obviously he was very overprotective because what was going on during that time. But that ending is just
it's so powerful.
Beautiful.
It's such a beautiful scene, and I forgot about it. But rewatching it, I was just like, my gosh, like.
And you get the "If I Never Knew You."
Yes, my favorite
Instrumental
song. It's so beautiful. If you don't know "If I Never Knew You" from Pocahontas, it's not like
It's
a
a
main
deleted
theme.
song, right? I think.
Yeah, but it is in that scene, which I didn't even remember. It's just the most beautiful song.
It's so great.
Oh my gosh, look it up.
Look it up. It's amazing.
Yes.
And so this one, real quick, Chief Tui. Am I saying that correct?
I think so.
Okay, is that
Sounds right.
So Moana, her father. This is an interesting one because she sees him as just this father who's
Overbearing.
stuck in the mud. Like,
Yeah.
we should just live here. He always brings her back from the water, and it's something that she wants to do, something that she really wants to explore. And she doesn't know anything about why he's that way. If you don't give like an explanation of why you're that way, they're going to just think that you're overbearing. And he never told Moana about the time that he was like a seafaring wayfinder, whatever. Is that the correct that term? And he used to go out with his friend, and then one day his friend passed away because the waves were so strong. And so there was this past trauma that Moana never knew about. And I think if she had known about that, if he would have talked about that to her, she would have had a little bit better understanding, and he would have a little bit better understanding with her. And so I think that's a kind of an interesting point, is that not only was he protective, and then he grew once he figured out that Moana saved their whole island and other islands as well, is we have to be very communicative. We shouldn't hide ourselves to our kids. And I think that was an interesting and very cool point in Moana.
Yeah, I think so too. It's interesting watching kind of the progression there between them, because after she leaves and goes to find Maui, you don't really see her father again until the end, when she's like saved their whole island. And then, things are okay, and he's just really proud of her. But yeah, it is interesting kind of breaking down how he like had to realize like she's gonna do what she needs to do. And, I think he did realize like he had to just let her do her thing, and that he probably should have explained himself early on of like why he was so guarded about the ocean.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like, a lot of these movies are about finding the balance, right? And like us being parents now, you realize
Totally
that there
makes
is
sense.
such a balance. And it's like, how do you figure out that balance of like, you need to protect, but you also need to let them get hurt, let them get other stuff so that they can learn. It's crazy. Any other parents listening right now, hit us up. We'll chat about it. But we have one more in this category, and I think that
the pinnacle.
oh my gosh, the pinnacle of the overprotective to growth.
You all know.
If you're gonna guess, Put it in the comments and see if you're correct. You're probably correct.
Marlin from
Marlin.
Finding Nemo.
Gosh.
Here's our Pixar
How
representation
amazing.
for this category.
Yeah.
Marlin is like, he's the best dad. I mean, it's so, like, it's one of the most beautiful stories of a father, like,
Yeah.
learning and growing and watching his son grow too. Like, I mean, from the first scene of that movie when Coral dies and he is
My
left with
gosh.
one child when he thought he was going to be, you know,
Makes me bawl every single time. The
It
way
is
he holds
so-
that egg.
I know.
Are you kidding?
I know. And what he
My
says.
gosh.
Daddy's here.
That is it. I know.
Oh my gosh.
My word.
It is so emotional. And you see from that moment why he is so protective of that little egg, that
Yeah.
little Nemo.
My gosh.
It's so beautiful. And then you just see this young boy who's trying to grow up and adventure and like come into his own a little bit. And Marlin cannot let go. He just wants to
Yeah.
take care of him. And then, you know, the inevitable happens. Nemo's gone. And he has to go find him. And he does a very noble thing, which is face his fears.
Yeah, it wasn't even just him protective of his son. He was protective of his own life. He was
Yeah.
very afraid of
He was so scared to leave home
Yeah.
and face everything that the deep, dark ocean could bring to him. But he did it because because Nemo was his life.
Yeah.
And it was like he probably saw no point if he didn't have Nemo anymore, and he just wanted to find him. And so you just see his journey getting to Nemo, and it's so beautiful. And when they finally reunite, it's just the best. And you finally see him like,
Yeah, they have a good balance.
yes,
After that.
yes, exactly. And it's like he finally learns to let go a little bit, even though they went through this traumatizing thing. And he finally got back to him. He's like, okay, like I can't hold on to him forever, And they finally get home, and he's like, then it goes to the scene where Nemo's wanting to sleep in, and Marlin's like, get up, time for school, you know? And he's like, it's just so sweet. I just love that movie, and I love that father story.
Yeah, and we don't get that a lot. Like, right, a lot of father stories within Disney movies are more of like a subplot or like a sub thought,
Yeah.
something in the background, but is very important to talk about. This is I think one of the first movies where it's focused legit on the dad
Totally.
the entire time. And
Yeah.
I mean, you just nailed it on the head. Like that was just, it is a perfect movie, honestly.
It is. Not to mention the whole relationship with Dory and how he grows there too. At first, he's just like, you're just a distraction. You're just keeping me from getting to my son. And then, he realizes that he's hurting her, and she's like a big.
And she has something to
factor
offer
in
too.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
Exactly.
amazing.
It's so
guys.
good. We love Marlin.
So great. I know Marlin is best. So the next category that we have is the shut off from the kids to the growth. So we just talked about overly protective to growth. These are Disney dads that are just very
Kind of disconnected, kind of
Yeah.
caught up in their own world, kind of,
workaholics.
Yes,
which is
generally they're
definitely-
workaholics.
Yeah.
Or like some are just kind of caught up in the rut of work life, even though
Yeah.
they're not super into it. But yeah, so our first dad on this list is Jim Darling from Peter Pan.
Yeah.
So as we all know, once again from the first scene, he's like he's caught up in
Absent-minded.
he's
Yeah.
like trying to get ready for his party. He doesn't care what his kids are doing. He's just kind of like, everybody's just distracting him for what he wants to get done, and the fact that he needs to leave for this work party. And you kind of just get an overall negative feeling about him. Like it just
Yeah.
feels like he just cares about no one other than himself.
Yeah, and it kind of does at the beginning. Yeah.
Or at least that's what is portrayed in
That
that
is what
one scene.
in that one scene.
I mean,
yes,
we can all have like a stressful night where we're just like nothing is working out, and you're just like mad at everything.
He's like, Disney, why did he pick that one scene? Like,
Yeah.
I'm actually a really good
Right.
father.
Like it could have just been that, but I think we all know that he was kind of that way regardless. But yeah, it's interesting seeing that scene and how he's this way and he takes the dog Nana out and ties her up and the kids are also like hurt by him. And then like after he and his wife leave and she says, well, I'm nervous because Wendy said Peter Pan was coming or whatever, however that goes. And he's like, oh, Peter Pan. Like, he's just making fun of her,
Cynical,
basically.
yeah.
Very cynical. And then the next time you see him is literally at the end of the movie. So you don't really see anything between that time. But he does get a little taste of childhood again in that last scene when Wendy and the boys have returned home from Neverland, and Wendy and her mom are looking out the window and like watching the cloud ship sailing away, and he's like, I remember that ship, like I saw it long ago or whatever. And it's like you just get this
say like I have a strange feeling I've seen.
Yes, it's
like that,
so sweet, and it's so like perfect. I just love that they had that happen because it just shows what like having that childlike spirit in you can do and how it can just change you. And it's really, really sweet. I love that scene.
Yeah.
It's so special.
It's so special. The next one is actually very similar to Jim Darling. And we're mainly talking about animated movies here. I guess this movie's partially animated.
Sort of animated.
But guys, Mary Poppins, George Banks, amazing character arc, amazing. Also another workaholic, very strict.
Just wants his kids to like be good kids, be, like he just wants them to be successful. That's kind of his only thing. He just wants them to be well groomed, well mannered. Like that's why they need a nanny, because he wants someone else to like train up his kids to be these perfect human beings.
Yeah. And all the while he is just focused on him succeeding. Like I think the song he sings, A Man's Dream, isn't he talking about like all he wants in life is to do these things, grow in his company, do all this like high position. Yeah. That's all he's striving for. And then Bert comes in and he talks about, oh, you're striving for all these things. Yeah, well, he's striving for all these things. Your kids are gonna grow up, you're gonna blink, and then they're gonna be adults, and you're gonna miss their life. And and I think that's something that every parent needs to hear, especially in the age that we're in today. Everything's so fast, everything's very you have to climb the ladder, you have to do this, I have to do that. And then he realizes after Bert says that, and go back and watch that scene because
that's one that we watched, and it was
so emotional.
I forgot how potent that scene is.
I know, as we were like discussing this episode, I realized like I need, in order to be a better person, a better parent, I need to like go back and watch Disney movies because the lessons are so important in them. And then when he finally mends the kite and brings it to Michael and Jane, and then they're singing "Let's Go Fly a Kite." Just this amazing scene where he realizes work is nothing compared to my kids. And another topic on this is if you guys have not seen Saving Mr. Banks,
I was just about to bring up that.
Yeah, if you're listening to a Disney podcast, I'm sure you guys have watched it, but you could see the intricacies of
why
P.L.
that
Travers'
scene was so important.
Story, to the author and to the movie studio as a whole. And wow. Okay, let's go. Mary Poppins, Saving Mr. Banks, Mary Poppins 2, all great films.
So
you could
good.
learn so much from them. And it's cool that like I feel like a lot of movies do focus a lot on the mothers. This is one series, I feel like as a whole, all those 3 movies that do focus on the fathers, which I think is very, very good. And I think that, fathers who might not be Disney fans can watch this and just be like, that's, I need to
totally
think
life
about
lessons.
So good.
So good.
Ooh, next up is a great one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad I get to talk about this one. Next up is Kerchak from Tarzan.
Kerchak.
Tarzan in general is just like so special to me, and I love the whole entire movie for so many reasons. But
So great.
Kerchak is a huge character arc as well, just a
Yeah.
huge character in that movie, because you watch him go from like so shut off from Tarzan. He's like, you will never be one of us. Even as a young kid, he just totally shuns him and is like, don't care about you, don't care anything about you. You'll never be my son, you know, because he had lost his little son
So sad.
to Sabor, which is such a horrible and sad scene.
Freaking Sabor.
He's the worst.
He's the
But
worst, yeah.
yeah, you watch all these moments between him and Tarzan where he's never fully embracing him as his son, even when Tarzan kills Sabor and
Yeah.
like offers it to him as like a offering. It's still like kind of not enough, and they kind of are like in a better place in their relationship. But then when Tarzan starts like veering off into the human world, you know, with Jane and her father and Clayton and all them, Kerchak, they've become a little bit more distant. But then, you know, in the end, this is another scene that we rewatched last night.
So beautiful.
And when Kerchak is about to die, Tarzan like comes to him, and he's the last one that he sees, and he's like, I'm so sorry for not, you know, understanding and realizing that you're my son, basically. And he's like, you'll lead our pack now. And it's just like so sweet. And just to see that change of heart is so beautiful. I love Kerchak, even though he kind of breaks your heart throughout a lot of the movie. I just love to see like where it goes.
Yeah. Tarzan, even though it was in that era, I think it's the post-Renaissance era that not too many people love. Tarzan, not only fun, not only great music, but the
Emotional.
the points that they hit, not only with Kerchak having a great story arc, but also Kala always having this loving nature.
They balance
this
each other out.
adoptee, yeah, kind of thing. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, we have to
good.
rewatch it soon because
Yes.
Tarzan is honestly like one of the best.
Next time we feel like crying
love it.
all night,
yes,
we'll watch Tarzan.
multiple parts. Yeah, like
Yeah.
at the beginning and then when every time we see him come in with
Every
that
time
suit,
he comes out
I
with
know,
the suit
I'm
on,
like,
it's like waterworks.
no,
And then Kala just kind of is like, it's so bittersweet.
That's
Oh my
so-
gosh, that scene.
heartbreaking.
Yes.
Next off from the shut off / growth, we have Mr. Incredible. So this is interesting. He's very stuck in this 9-to-5 position, and he's just very like,
Bitter.
yeah, he's very bitter, right? He's like, this is my life now. He misses the glory days. He misses those days where he was a super. When we see him start to open up is when he's back doing things he loves, but also when he lets the kids be themselves, right? Like
Be a
there's a
part
lot
of
of times
that
where it's
world.
like, Dash, slow down. Like you cannot be yourself when you're running track. Violet, you better not let your powers show, all this stuff. But then when they actually embrace who they are as supers and they let their kids be who they are, that's when they are at their best. That's when Mr. Incredible is protecting them from, Mr. and Mrs. are protecting them from all the dangers, and
Yeah.
that's when they are connected again as a family. But
Yeah.
I love that. I love that kind of message that is there.
I do too. He's a great dad.
You have another good Pixar one here.
I
We're both
do,
gonna be talking
yeah,
about this.
both
This
of
is
these
great.
end
This
with
is
Pixar.
the last one of the shut off / growth.
Yes.
Awesome.
Another
So good.
one. Yes. Another great Pixar dad, but really more a father figure.
Kind of, yeah. More
Not
of
a real
father-
dad.
More
Carl,
of a grandfather figure.
Yes, grandfather. Carl Fredricksen from Up.
The best.
So good. I mean, that whole movie is so good, but to watch the relationship between him and Russell throughout that movie just blossom is so special. And he's, again, such a bitter, shut off to the world, like,
Shut off to Russell for a very long
yes,
time, yeah.
just shut off to everything. All he wants to do at this point is go and find Paradise Falls
Yeah.
for Ellie. And just watching him like open up to Russell and watch them like grow closer throughout that movie up until the very end where literally Russell asks Carl to be with him for his little like badge ceremony. Is so sweet. I totally teared up so bad. We watched this scene last night over again, and I was like, oh my gosh, like you kind of get a little glimpse of what Russell's real father relationship is like, and it's not good. I think he's just not really in the picture, it sounds like. And so having this relationship with Carl for Russell was so special because they just bonded so much, and he felt cared for and loved by him. And so it's so sweet when he does the badge ceremony and he pins the Ellie badge. The Ellie badge.
Or the grape soda badge.
Yeah.
He says something about like this is the greatest honor or something.
Yeah.
And he says something about the Ellie badge. And the fact that like
so
everything as they're like in the house and things are, falling over as they're like hitting crazy winds and everything, he's all protective of the photos of him and Ellie, right? Like his life revolved around Ellie. And this grape soda pin was the first thing that she ever gave to him. And the fact that
oh my gosh,
at the end he felt safe, he felt secure to give this little grape soda bottle cap that meant so much to him to this kid that he had just met. I guess I don't know how long it had been, but that he felt so comfortable in giving this badge to Russell. And
so sweet.
I mean, how amazing is that? And then also the thing I love about the movie is like there's a difference. I think about, I don't even know how people say this, but there's like a difference between like a dad and a father kind of thing, where obviously Carl's not really like a father, but like anyone can be a dad, and it takes certain people to be a father figure. And Carl definitely was that. But then it also breaks down this whole gap of like someone who's 2 or 3 generations different than someone else. And I love the fact that they can get along and they love adventure and they do all this stuff. So it's like breaking down the boundaries of generations. And that movie is just so great. Another one we have to watch again.
Yes, it has been a while. And just, I mean, because of how emotional the first scene of that is, I'm always like kind of deterred from watching it because I'm like, am I ready for that kind of emotion ever? But it's so worth it. It's so beautiful. That whole story.
Yeah.
It's so
great.
Okay.
Moving on is
last category that we have.
The overall good.
Yeah.
The overall
nothing
good
negative
fathers.
to say about them. They're just solid good dads.
Yeah. And I might just blend these first 2 together and then we could go on from there. But Geppetto and Pongo. We were talking about fathers who just really love their kids and are protective, but not protective in the way that we were talking about in the first category.
Like overly,
they were
not
like
overly
something
protective.
Terrible has happened to their kids, and in the case of Pongo, it wasn't their fault that they got puppy napped.
Yeah,
is that the right word?
Right.
Puppy napped, but Pongo was like, I am going to do everything. I'm going to risk my life to save these puppies. But then in the case of Geppetto, it technically was Pinocchio's fault. Yet Geppetto went after him and sought after him and found him. And I'm trying to remember if he knew what he did. But
I don't think he really did. But either way, there was no.
I remember he said regardless
judgment.
of what the ear thing is, I'm just glad that you're here with me.
He's like, it doesn't matter. Like nothing matters because I have you back, basically. So it's like, it's just such a sweet, special moment of their reuniting after who knows how long it had been that Pinocchio was gone. But Geppetto just loved him so much and did everything he could to get him back.
Yeah.
That was so sweet. And the next one that we have is Maurice from Beauty and the Beast. He's such a good dad. So lovable. Just so fun. And, he just is doing his thing. He's just like creating stuff. He doesn't care what anyone thinks about him. He's not caught up in like what looks good to the people. Like, he's just doing his thing, and he loves his daughter.
And that's that kind of mentality of don't care what people think, like,
is why she
bleeds
was the way
off
she was.
onto
Yeah.
Belle. Yeah, I
And
love
why
that.
there's a whole song about like how she's so strange or whatever. It's like, you know, it just goes to show that he raised her to be like, it's not about what other people think about you.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of other Disney dads, it's like, I mean, they grow from this, but it's like they have a very specific type of, like, they want to marry their daughters
Ideals,
off,
yeah.
like all this stuff. And he's just like, I don't even care if you get married. Like,
Yeah.
you love reading, you love adventure, you love, doing your own thing. Like, that is what makes you you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to get married. If you find someone and get married, like she does at the end, that's totally fine. But like, you have your passions.
Yeah.
And if Gaston's gonna be like a girl reading, that's strange.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
it's like, well, that's obviously not the type of person for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love him because he doesn't see anything wrong with it. He's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like
It's
you
like,
love
do your
reading,
thing,
do
daughter.
it,
Yeah.
go for it.
I love it. So good.
So great. So our next one is Goofy. Gosh dang, the Goofy movie, guys. I actually have not watched this since I became a father because I
Aw.
know if I watch it, I will bawl my eyes out. But Goofy he's a single father, and so he's a single father who decides to devote everything he can to his son Max.
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to find his boundaries, right? He's trying to figure out, like, he's not necessarily overly protective, but he just wants to spend all his time he can with Max.
Mm-hmm.
Almost to the point where he doesn't realize that what's that, like, rodent park he takes him to, and they're like singing these old, like, weird songs. Like, he doesn't even see that that's weird, because he just sees Max as his little kid. And he says this quote, I'm trying to remember it, but he says, no matter how old you get, you'll always be like my son, or you'll always be my little boy. And the fact that you see this very rebellious Max and Goofy just trying to connect with him, trying to find ways to connect with him, right? I'm thinking about the time that they're in the car, he's playing these like crazy like rock and roll songs, and then Goofy just switches the channel to a song they used to listen to back then, and he's just trying to like sing with Max, and Max is like, I'm like past
child.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the way that they go through this crazy father-son back and forth, and then by the end they realize that that's like what they have, that's what's most important to them, is just amazing. And so Goofy deserves a spot on the overall good list.
He does. He's a
I
great
love
dad.
it.
We all love Goofy.
Goofy's the best. He's so
Yes.
great.
Okay, next up we have Fazu from Mulan. Another fantastic father. He's also protective, as he should be, in terms of what was kind of going on in their country at that time.
Yeah.
He wants to be the protector regardless of his physical capabilities, which obviously were not much.
Yeah.
He was like, you're staying here, I'm going to war. Like, I'm gonna go do this, and he's a strong man, and he was ready to go out and protect them. But in the end, we all know what happens. Mulan goes out and does her thing.
It almost shows that he was such a good father that Mulan would be willing to
Do that
put
for him.
herself in that place because of,
She was not willing to let him go off, and because he would have died so quickly if he went out to the war.
Yeah.
So it's just so sweet seeing how she takes that on for him, and then they get to reunite in the end, and their relationship is just so special. It's so sweet when she comes back and they're at the cherry blossom tree.
He has another great quote too. Just like, I think she brings a medal. Doesn't she bring the medal of like honor or something like that because she won that.
And he just like
says,
throws it on the ground and hugs her, remember?
Yeah. And he just says like the greatest honor I could ever have is having you as a daughter.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care that you, I mean, well, I guess he does care that she saved a lot of things, but what's more important is to just have Mulan as a daughter. Amazing. So
It's
good.
so good. He's such a good dad. Nothing, can't say anything bad about him.
Oh, so great. Next up, we have James from Princess and the Frog, and I love this character, even though we don't,
Even though he's
see
in it
him
for
such a short time.
Yeah, it's so sad.
He always instills this like hard work ethic into Tiana, but in a very balanced and good way. That he was always a very hard worker, and he would come home and he would just be tired and just kind of, you know, from trying to support his family. But whenever Tiana would come in, he would always just light up and wouldn't show his exhaustion. But he always just kind of had this, he always taught Tiana, like, you have your dreams. You follow those dreams, but it's also about hard work as well. And then Tiana later on does have to find a balance between that hard work, but he was just a great dad.
So inspirational.
So inspirational.
Love their relationship so much.
And the fact that she always, like, everything she did went back to her dad's dream. Like, her dad's dream was always about opening a restaurant. And then so she kind of took that up and was like, I'm going to open it for you. It just showcases like how great of a dad he was that she wanted to follow her dreams and open this.
Yeah. And it was like his dream became her dream because he wasn't there. It was like she wanted it anyways, but it was even more important to her because he wasn't around to do it himself, which was just so special that it finally happened.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Amazing.
Next up we have Fergus from Brave.
Fergus.
He's so great. Another one where he's just kind of like, you are who you are, kind of like Maurice, you know.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to like tie her down the way that her mom does. Like he wants her to be herself and be who she is.
Yeah.
And he's kind of goofy about it, and you know, he likes to kind of like poke fun at her, but he loves her and he loves all of her quirks.
Yeah.
Which is so special, even though he kind of like knows what the ultimate goal is for like his daughter. Like, you know, he wants her to grow up and kind of become who she should be. But he likes to watch who she is as a young girl and watch the process.
He's always been supportive of her like love for archery and like her love to just, you know, do these things that aren't necessarily what you would expect of a princess. And it's just really fun to see. I do love that movie.
It's great.
And then obviously we talked about her mom in the Mother's Day episode.
Yeah.
Where they go on a journey together to really kind of try to understand each other. It's so good. So definitely listen to that.
Another one where the mom and dad kind of balance each other out.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So interesting.
So great. So we have just 3 more. We're going to go kind of quick through these, but we have Wilden Lightfoot from Onward, and you know,
not
Pixar,
in it at all, actually. But
his legs are in it.
Yes, and his legacy is in it.
Wow, so, legacy. I like that.
Like, you know who he is based on his sons and the stories that are told about him.
Yeah.
Which makes us know just how special of a person he was and what a great dad he was.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, I mean, Ian, he had never met Wilden and never met his father, and just him trying to figure out what he was like. And as they go on this adventure, I love that he had specific things he wanted to do. And it didn't really meet his expectations, but then he realized that he was able to, by the end of the movie, you know, he was able to get to know his father better through this experience, even though his brother kind of hindered at first, he thought, the ability to get to know him. And then at the end of the movie, he realized that Barley was almost like encompassed who Wilden was.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just a great movie that maybe it's not like your typical Pixar movie, but if you have not seen it, you should watch it, and by the end you'll be crying. It is so good. I love that movie and the relationship between the father, who isn't even there, with the sons.
Yeah, it like took a minute for that movie to grow on me. Like I had to watch it, I think, a second time before I like really realized how much I loved it. But it is so good. It is. I love the adventures they go on and just the relationship that they have and just the special moments like with the dad legs and the things that happen, that the bonding that happens is just so special.
It is.
It's a
Do
great
you want me
movie.
to get the next one and then you could do the last one?
Sure.
Okay.
Go for it.
One I put in here was from Raya and the Last Dragon. Chief Benja. I really have a very, like, I would like to be like Chief Benja. The reason being that Raya is very, she's so caught up in the different tribes and how they could secure their tribe. And, you know, if something bad is happening with something, she wants to get vengeance on them and all this stuff. And her father is very much the type of person that says, like, I want to be united. I want to be like let love kind of rule in your life. Like, don't let hate get the better of you. That's kind of the story of Raya and the Last Dragon. And you see that his vision turned him into stone at the moment, but then when she finally at the end of the movie follows her dad's dream of uniting the clans or the tribes, that's really what brings everyone together and brings everyone out of that stone state. And we live in a world that is very divided and very kind of tensious. And I want to be a father that does, you know, relay to my children that we should strive for peace and unity, regardless of what we're hearing from the news and all this craziness that we constantly hear. We should see people for the way they are and strive for that unity. And I really love that message in Raya and the Last Dragon.
Me too. It is really beautiful.
It is.
It's a great movie.
Should we go into the end?
Here is
Last
our
one.
final dad. I think if you don't all know who we're about to say, I'm sorry, because he is the best. I think he's pretty much the top dad. We're talking about Mufasa. He's the best. I mean, what do I even need to say? He's wise, he's caring, he's strong, he's loving. He's like every adjective you can think of. He's very balanced. Yes, he's like just the perfect balance of protective to where he needs to be, but just he encompasses everything that a dad should. He's so perfect. And it's so sad that he's in it for such a short time. But Simba learned so much from him, even in that short time that we see in that movie. And he bestows so much wisdom on Simba. It's crazy. I love him.
I love when he's trying to teach him a lesson. And he does get angry. He does get he is a little intimidating when he finds Simba at the elephant graveyard. And
understandably,
Simba says,
though.
understandably.
I mean,
and
he could have died.
And he was like, Simba says to him like something along the lines of, you know, I thought rulers never get scared, and he said, I was scared today. And after this like harsh kind of talking to, he transitions that into this lesson of, you know, the circle of life, how everything is kind of connected, and it turns into this moment of like this discipline and lesson to, you know, Simba tackling his father and them just talking about, you know, the legacies and the ancestors that are in the sky. And he like turns these hard moments into lessons, and I think that's really great. And then at the end, he sacrifices himself for his son, and then his legacy lives on through Simba. One of the hardest things to ever watch in a Disney movie, but
Seriously.
such a great payoff. I mean, it's
Yeah, it is.
so
It
amazing.
is. That scene will get me every single time. The sacrifice that he makes to let Simba live. There's nothing he won't do for his son,
Yeah.
you know? And we see that portrayed so well by him. And he really is just an amazing dad.
Yeah.
Props to Mufasa.
Props to Mufasa. Well,
That
with
sums
that,
it up.
let us know, like I said earlier, your favorite Disney fathers. And while you're at it, let us know your favorite Disney mothers too, if you have those. We're so glad that we got to do an episode on this. Thankfully, like later last week, we're like, why don't we do a Father's Day episode? Because we did
Like,
a
we
Mother's Day
have
episode.
to.
And I'm so glad that we did it.
I am too.
Um,
And
yeah.
big shout out to my favorite Disney dad. He's
Yeah.
the best. And I'm so thankful for him. Me and our son adore him. He's the best. So, and shout out to all you dads out there.
Shout out for
Holding
sure.
it up for your families. We love you. You're the best.
With that, we just want to thank you so much for listening to this episode. The support seriously means so much, and we will see you guys next week. And we're just so thankful for all of you guys. But until then, we'll see you guys.
We'll
Have a
see
great
you
one.
guys. Bye,
Bye.
and happy Father's Day.